So, you got my money?
What's up, guys? Welcome to 10K Bets. Got a lot to talk about today. We got plenty of college football action to recap. With me to do it today, Sammy Stats. Sammy, how we doing?
Awesome. Yeah, we had a great week one. There was some really good football games. I was a little surprised, but happy, obviously. But yeah, no, there's some great games. A lot of hype surrounding a few teams that we'll dive into. But yeah, it was great. I mean, obviously, just now excited for week two.
Right. Yeah. No, I've already been looking at games for week two to kind of see what's on the slate, where the lines have started, to see what I like. Yeah, no, it's an endless game now that we're in it, right? So,
Oh yeah.
yeah, let's start off with the hometown team. I mean, it feels like that was an eternity ago already. Thursday night, the Gophers win 13-10 against the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Yeah, Sammy, what are your thoughts after that one?
Obviously, look, it wasn't the prettiest win, right? I mean, it's you know, they're definitely going to clean up a lot of stuff, but I mean, we've said it before. It's week one. Teams are going to have some hiccups. You're feeling each other out. You're just getting back into it. I think they'll be fine. Obviously, you could worry a little bit, but again, it was week one. I think they'll be just fine. But yeah, I mean, they got to clean some stuff up, but they got to really try to attack the run game a little more. I think they really struggled with running the ball, which is, very unusual for a Gopher football team. But I think you can credit Nebraska's defense, run D a little bit there. And obviously they didn't have a touchdown until the last, 2 minutes or whatever. But again, it's early in the season. It was week one. And at the end of the day, they got the win. That's all that matters. So, yeah, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought the offense would come out a little bit hotter. I did like their commitment to the pass game. There just wasn't much deep in the passing game, which, understandable. Nebraska doesn't want anything over their heads. Once they saw that there was no threat to the run, they're like, well, let's just not keep beat over the top, right?
Yeah.
So it was just a lot of passes. I was expecting maybe a little bit more downfield. I think the average attempt was like 4 or 5 yards, which is very very short by those standards. From a betting perspective, though, I mean, that was an easy under. 43.5 was just way too many points. And I think we all knew that going in. I thought the Gophers would control the game a little bit more. Obviously, working out some kinks there. I thought there's some similarities to the 2019 team where they kind of started out slow. The offense is still trying to work out some kinks. I think we'll see that in the next week against Eastern Michigan. But really, you got one more tune-up, and then it's down to Chapel Hill for a face-off against North Carolina, which they look like a wagon this weekend. They got after South Carolina pretty good. So, yeah, I don't know. Not much more to say on the Gophers. I feel like, run the ball a little bit better. The defense should keep them in most games.
Oh, yeah.
So keep that in mind when you see the Gophers as an underdog moving forward later in the year. So.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on. The defense was electric. That one stud had 2 picks.
Tyler Newman.
Yeah, again, it was week one. They'll work a lot of stuff out at practice. Obviously, the team will continue to get better and better week after week, and they won. So, I was a little skeptical. I was like, man, I'm not sure how many games this team wins, but then it's also like it's week one. They got it done. They'll obviously be getting better. You could probably say the same about Nebraska a little bit, even though they definitely have a handful of question marks on their end. But yeah, no, all that matters, they got the win, and they're on to Eastern Michigan.
Absolutely. Yeah, so some of the boys, we were down at Diamond Joe in Iowa because, thanks Minnesota. No sports betting
Correct.
legal here. Check out Better Edge if you need something local. And the first game when we got there, the Colorado game, I think it made most of yours, mine, Cam, made all of our weekend. With the Colorado Buffaloes, plus 20.5 was the spread on this one against TCU. I'll start on this one just like immediately. It was my favorite play of the week going in. I put 2 units on it, loved it. And then the second they scored that first touchdown, I'm looking up at the board and I'm like, what's the live line on this? Like, halfway through the first quarter, I was like, I'm not satisfied with, just the points. Like, I need to have action on the money line here. That was my thoughts. I was like, if they were to win this game outright and I had nothing on the money line, I would feel very dissatisfied. So I don't know about you. I know you ended up a bit live, but I put another 2 units on the live line, and that really I came out 6 units ahead on this game.
No, that was great. I wasn't, to be honest, sitting right next to you, I wasn't really thinking too hard on this team could very well win the game. I knew for a fact that they're going to keep this within the number. The offense just looked too good for them to lose by 21 points. But once you went in and then I looked and I saw, a plus 300 live line, I went in and then, even in the second quarter, it was like plus 250, plus 275. So I went in again and it worked out great. Obviously it was a back and forth game, pretty much, all game. And it was an awesome football game. Colorado has some dogs. They got a hell of a quarterback. They got a 2-way player that, Hunter is fantastic. Their defense obviously is going to need a little work. They were kind of beat up and down really all day, but same with TCU. That's why it was so fun. But they'll correct that. And I tell you, I'm kind of kicking myself because that Colorado win total was at 3.5, and it's obviously 4.5 or 5.5 now, but I see them easily winning 5-6 games. That team's got an offense, and Sanders is an electric quarterback. They're going to be really fun to watch all year. That just kind of goes back to the Pac-12 is like a wagon. It's those games are going to be awesome, and Colorado is a pretty solid team.
Yeah, the one thing that stuck out to me, obviously everyone wants to talk about Travis Hunter and how many snaps he played, but from a TCU side of this, I'm thinking to myself, I think I said it 3 or 4 times throughout the game. I was like, why is TCU targeting Travis Hunter? That is just a bad business decision. And it felt like he was all over the place. And he had 100+ receiving yards as well. He had the interception. He almost had a receiving touchdown there as well. I mean, he was making plays all over the field. He was the best player on defense. You could argue he was the best player on offense when he was out there. But Colorado was able to manufacture points in every way possible. When you look at Edwards, Shedeur Sanders, and Travis Hunter, like they just have playmakers everywhere. And I think why so many people were worried about Colorado is just, do they have the depth? They know that their starting 11 on both sides of the ball is going to be good enough to win almost every game, but do they have the depth? And so I think there's a question still week to week on if they can go out and do it. Like if you look at their schedule moving forward, they have Nebraska coming up this week, and then they have they have Colorado State rivalry game, and then they go back-to-back USC and Oregon. And it's like, wow, that schedule, like there's no breaks in there. So they could get beat up early. I don't know if it's if there's a look-ahead spot yet or a letdown spot this early, but you can already tell there's a giant public side on Colorado for next week, and that is like instant red flag, right?
Yeah, huge. I know it makes me just love Nebraska, but we'll cross that bridge when it comes. But the one thing about Hunter is I mean, what did he play? 110 snaps or something?
I think it was like closer to. I think he might have had 120. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't think he's going to do that all season, right? He's going to get gassed out, or even worse, he's going to get hurt. I mean, you got to think I know he's electric, two-way player, he's fantastic, but like you got to think that you're eventually going to get hurt, or just you're going to get gassed out. I don't know if he'll continue to play that many snaps, but I mean, it's definitely something to think about.
Yeah, I mean, this is free marketing advice here. Energizer, get Travis Hunter on the phone. You can replace the Energizer Bunny. It's Travis Hunter now.
Yeah, no kidding.
And I don't know. It's yet to be seen. But I was shocked because, again, the thing that you don't see on TV, or you can't tell on TV, is it's 100 degrees on that field, too.
Oh, yeah.
And then you see videos on Twitter after he's dancing around the locker room like he's still full. Like, he's not exhausted. He does not towel over his head laying down in the locker room. He's still going. And Dion said after the game, he's just like that. That's him. So I guess, only time will tell. But that is under any circumstance. Like, TCU was putting fresh players out there against them. They couldn't beat them. So it's like,
I know.
That was one of Sonny Dykes' comments after the game. So I think that was a tactic on their end, right?
Yeah.
To go see if they could take advantage of him, maybe as he's getting a little tired, but that never came. So
no, it didn't.
Another game that I had action on, I know you had action on, this Penn State West Virginia game in the evening. There, Sammy, take us through kind of what happened there.
Wow. Greatest, I mean, maybe to this day, greatest football cover I've ever had. So Penn State pretty much controlled a lot of the game. There was a few drives that, they kind of kept letting West Virginia back in it, not getting some key stops. But also you got to think like, all right, the Penn State kicker missed 2 field goals. They ideally could have, covered that number without the last minute kind of Hail Mary for us. But yeah, no, Penn State, pretty solid team. Their run game's really good, and even their quarterback, that pass game was kind of working too all game. They're going to be definitely a threat in the Big Ten. They looked pretty solid. They luckily for us, they chose to not knee the ball out when the game was over. I mean, they were easily going to win the game, no problems about it. And the guy, they put in a new quarterback or a backup quarterback, and basically was like, go score and cover this number. Nuts, unreal. Thank you, James Franklin. I appreciate that. It was a good game. I think Penn State, again, week 1, I'm sure they're going to work on a lot of stuff. But for the most part, they look to be the better football team. And they showed that with the score. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I guess there's obviously a lot of talk about that last drive there, and Penn State's up 16. They go down the field. They go for it on 4th and 3 with less than a minute to go. Mm-hmm. They get that. Then they run the ball, get stuffed, and then they run the ball again, and then they make it into the end zone for the cover. And a lot of talk on it. Does James Franklin know? Yeah, it's very obvious that he had to know. But I think the more interesting thing that maybe goes away from the gambling angle is that, hey, in the portal era, like, these backups, they need meaningful tape. So I think that probably played a little factor into it. But just the way the number was sitting at the time, you're like, James Franklin, Pennsylvania, a legal gambling state, by the way. There had to be more than a couple people in the stadium knowing what was going on on that sideline specifically. Had to know what was going on. So that was a huge win, I think. So during that evening slate, I had Penn State -21. I had South Carolina money line that wasn't looking good at that time. And then we were sweating out the Houston money line against UTSA. And that was a game that
was a sweater.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I was like, wow, Houston started out good. And I was like, I'm gonna bet on them regardless because those jerseys they were wearing were absolutely fantastic.
The Oilers jerseys,
Yep.
those were great.
Yeah, that was ugly. That game was just after Houston scored that first touchdown, it was just pathetically ugly until the fourth quarter.
Yeah, it was a rock fight in that one. You could tell it was just like both offenses. The defenses clearly were playing great, but the offenses were not doing anything. And that game was that soared under, and we just were lucky to have the +2. But yeah, once UTSA, once they got into the end zone to make it a 3-point game with like 5 minutes left, that's when I really was like, oh boy, like this is, one team may have showed up in the fourth quarter, the other team possibly didn't. And, I had my doubts. I was thinking, all right, Houston's going to go 3 and out, and UTSA is going to come down and score a last-minute touchdown, win the football game, cover the number. But luckily, Houston, they had it was like a 5-minute drive. They got 2 or 3 first downs and then kneeled it out. UTSA used all their timeouts. It was beautiful. I mean, it was exactly what we needed. And I definitely had my doubts just because that whole second half, they weren't really moving the ball. And so, I could only think it was going to be another quick punt, but no, they showed up on that last drive, got those first downs, needed them, and they put the game away.
Just a total rock fight. Like, I'm so glad that was not the game directly in front of me, or I would have been so mad. I mean, I was just watching it out of the corner of my eye, scoreboard watching, clock watching.
I stopped watching it. I was just like, I don't want to be disappointed here. I mean, especially because Penn State was right in front of us, and then also UNC South Carolina was on the big screen. So, yeah, I mean, I just tried to block that out and just hope for the best on that one.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that evening. So, yeah, just to, I guess, kind of recap like the slate in general. Like the Colorado obviously dominated the early slate. That set the tone for the day. The afternoon slate was pretty brutal, honestly. We were just basically watching Washington just continuously throw bombs,
which was great. We had the over, so
on.
No complaints there. Got a super lucky cover on an Alabama first half, but pretty much like that afternoon slate just wasn't super locked in. Didn't have a ton of plays. I was getting ready for the night slate. So,
yeah. So I guess that takes care of Saturday, and then Sunday. You get 3 more games. You get, I think, easiest dub on the whole board for the whole weekend was Rutgers -6. I got them at 5.5. Luckily, with some weird line movement that I saw. So just when I was betting it, got that never a doubt. Rutgers goes right down the field, scores, never looks back. Then we had, after that, they had Oregon State versus San Jose State. Luckily, I only was in that one for a half unit, but I was on San Jose State, and boy, did they look brutal. Oregon State defense clearly better than what they had faced the week prior with USC.
Yeah.
Still not ready to tip my cap to DJ. I think he played really well, no doubt. Still kind of jury's still out on him for me. He looked like a 5-star talent yesterday.
Yeah. I was gassing him up a little bit, and I think you're right. He was facing the San Jose State defense. Wait till he gets into some Pac-12 Ds and figure that out for him. But yeah, I mean, he looked obviously good. He threw for 3, ran for 2. But yeah, I mean, it's early in the season, and we'll see, how he, stacks up against like Utah's D. I was, that was a game where, getting back to Rutgers, I saw that Rutgers scored 7 points. I ended up live betting the under, which was 41.5, which was fantastic because Northwestern could not win the score at all. They couldn't move the football. So that was great. But getting back into Oregon State, I loved San Jose State so much that I was just like, I think it might be too good to be true. So I took Oregon State. Luckily, that was the right play. But yeah, no, I expected a little more from San Jose State as far as on offense. But that Oregon State defense, pretty damn good.
Yeah, they were good last year too, and so I think like last year they ran the ball well, they played good defense, and then when they went out and got DJ, now they're thinking like, can they unlock some of that passing game a little bit more and have them take a step forward there? That looked like it's the case so far. We'll see moving forward. I just think that that Pac-12 is a bloodbath. Like I don't know, like if any team could go through unscathed.
Yeah.
To get through a full 12 game schedule. I mean, even USC, like with the defensive problems they have, like I don't even know who would you say is the best, like I don't know, maybe I think Oregon's the best right now if I had to say, but
yeah,
Oregon
I mean there's
State.
A lot of really, really good teams. Oregon State's pretty solid. Washington looked like they could do whatever they want on offense. Similar story with Colorado, even though they have their defense problems. USC, obviously very good. Utah, good. There's a lot of action in there. A lot of really good quarterbacks. It'll be, I know Washington State really beat up on Colorado State. I mean, that conference is going to be good. And it's kind of a shame that it's like all, dismantling. But it'll be a fun last year for that. And, I am excited to see who's going to take that conference. Obviously, I'm sure Oregon or Utah is like the odds-on favorite, but I saw a lot of really good things from pretty much all of the Pac-12. I believe they went 12-0, or they're 12-0 in week one, and 13-0 total because USC had 2 games, whatever. But yeah, really good teams in there, and it'll be cool where it goes.
Yeah. Well, one more thing on the Pac-12. I think that UCLA was an interesting one because they weren't sure who they were going to start at quarterback. Both quarterbacks played, and it seems like at the end of that one, they said it on the broadcast that true freshman Dante Moore looks like he's kind of got it secured moving forward, which I think would be wild. So that's another name to add to the pile, right? Of those elite Pac-12 quarterbacks. So, and like I'm looking around on streaming services now, like where can I get Pac-12 network?
Yeah,
I feel like I can't miss these games. So it's very limited, by the way. That Fubo TV or whatever. It's like, what are we doing here? Like,
what can
Boomerang
you
Network?
The Pac-12 network just like on the Pac-12? Like, can you just buy it and then you just go to pac12.com and watch the games from there, or do you have to get it through a service?
That's what I mean. I would hope to God that they have their own internet subscription. But yeah, the actual like broadcast, like the fact that you can't get the Pac-12 network on DirecTV is just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Or any cable network that's not like past the Rockies to the west. So yeah, I don't know. It's a headache. I think they still have a partnership with Fox and I believe ESPN. But yeah, so I think that helps, but
yeah,
it's going to be a killer. Like if you have to watch Oregon State versus Washington State, which aren't huge draws, and they're going to be on the Pac-12 network, and you get a game that has 70 points in it, and we all miss it. Right. Unless we have to stream it, go on the black market to stream it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But yeah, that leads us into the primetime game last night, which we were all stoked about. Florida State versus LSU. Florida State was a little bit of an underdog. Sammy, we know you had the pick on the over.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Thank you.
And then Florida State comes out in the second half and just absolutely dominates LSU.
Yeah.
Without a trace.
Honestly, I mean, the over was great. That was a big 2-unit play. Really liked it. But Florida State might have been even a better pick at plus money, like plus 130. They steamrolled. And the first half, they went into the locker room down 3, but it it truly felt like they could, definitely like they hung with LSU just fine in that first half. I thought maybe they even had a better half really of football. They had some huge goal line stands. They had some good 4th and 1 stands. That FSU team is really good. The defense is really solid. The offense looks like it can kind of score at will. Other than a few drop balls from really both teams, they looked really good. So yeah, I mean, if you were, we hopped on Florida State. I think you came first with it, and then I was just like, okay, let's do it. Florida State was a great pick at plus money. They really just blew the doors off LSU in the second half. LSU, I don't know where we go with them, right? Because, I mean, I know their odds moved from like plus I think 1,500 to win it all to like plus 3,500 after that first loss. Yeah, they did not look good in the second half. They couldn't really move the ball at all. And the defense was just getting broken. So, yeah, we'll see. I'm sure they'll have a nice little bounce back, few wins here. Still a good team, but even Brian Kelly was saying after the game, like, we are not who we thought we were. We have a lot of work to do. And, Florida State, on the other hand, they look like the real deal. I believe they're down to like 10-1 to win it all, even just after the first game. So that'll be interesting to see how that all pans out. But Florida State, that's a team you should look into backing many, many weeks because, they play a really solid brand of football on both sides of the ball. And that's what wins you games.
No doubt. And my thought after last night's game was, first off, I guess I'll start by saying before we left Diamond Joe's on Saturday night, I was fully I need a ticket on Florida State money line. So I put 2 units on that before we left. And I was like, all right, yeah, I feel pretty good about that. So I'll have to make the trek back down. Place a couple more bets with it. But they got Florida State has 2 weeks of games, and then in their 4th game, they play at Clemson, which we're going to see what Clemson is tonight. But I feel like Florida State should almost be favored already. I want to, if I can get a money line bet on Florida State at Clemson right now for plus money, I would take it for multiple units. And
I agree. I don't think Clemson's that good. I know they're a good team, and it's probably a hot take, and it's still Clemson football, still Dabo Swinney. But I mean, I just think there's better football teams out there. And it's probably because I watched them in the Orange Bowl just get absolutely destroyed by Tennessee. But yeah, I mean, we'll definitely find out tonight what kind of football they're bringing to the table this year. Obviously, Klubnik's pretty damn good. We'll figure out how good they're going to be. But yeah, I mean, I'm all in on Florida State, and if you can get them plus money in that spot, it seems like a pretty good bet to me.
Right on. Yeah. No, I think honestly, in the transfer portal era, I almost think it's unfair for teams like Florida State. Mm-hmm. Like, oh yeah, come to Florida State, and they're like, why? Well, you have everything you could ever need there. Like that is a football-loving school.
Yeah,
the chicks are amazing.
Yeah,
great party school. Like, what more could a college athlete want? And that I think that is, they might find themselves into some trouble like Gainesville did during the Swamp Kings era. Mm-hmm. But man, like it's almost unfair. You see how many they had transfer guys all over the field, the best of the best. You think of Keon Coleman, who had his coming out party. Then you had Jaheim Bell, who was a solid tight end at South Carolina last year. Jared Verse, who was a transfer in. And it's like everywhere you look, there was a guy that transferred in, whether this year, last year, the year before. Mike Norvell has owned the transfer portal even more than some of right now they're in the have-nots compared to the haves of Clemson and Bama and Georgia. But they have just as much, if not more, momentum, I think, from the portal than those other schools that I just mentioned. So
for sure. Yeah. No, I totally agree. They they can get those players, and it really benefits their football team. It really does. And I just think, they'll continue to have that success. So watch out for Florida State in the next, let alone this year, but, years to come.
Mm-hmm. Right on. Real quick, looks like Clemson and Duke is about to start here. Yep. The line last I saw, Clemson favored by 13, total of 55. Sammy, what do you got on tonight's game?
So I took it Wednesday or Thursday, and it was at 13.5. I bought it to 14 for Duke. So I got Duke plus 14, minus 125. Really like that play. Now I think it's down to like 12. So that is some great line movement in our favor. I think Duke keeps it close. They're at home. They got a really solid quarterback. They were like 9-4 last year in the coach's first year. I think, they can only, go up from here. Being at home is a huge factor here. I think they win the game? I don't, but this is another one where it's like, if they look really solid, and it's like plus 300, that's something I might look into in maybe the second quarter or something. But I got Duke plus 13. I also have a teaser just for a unit. Duke plus 19 over 49.5. It was really tough to either go with the over 49.5 or the under 60. So that one I just kind of took a shot at. We'll see if it kind of pans out. But I think the offense is going to be good. They got a really solid quarterback, and hopefully they'll be able to move the ball. So yeah, I'm on Duke tonight. I'm pretty excited to watch that game, especially watch Clemson and see if they kind of live up to that ninth in the country number. But yeah, I'm on Duke at home. Plus 14 is the big play, and then a unit on that teaser, 19.5 over 49.
I'm with you. I got the Duke at plus 13. Love Riley Leonard as the quarterback. Mike Elko took that team from I think they had something in 2021. They're the 100th ranked defense in the country. He brought them all the way down to 22 in a year. And that's phenomenal work. So Mike Elko deserves all the credit in the world. Probably the sneakiest 9-win team on 2022. And I don't usually look too much into returning starters because you can kind of finagle that in some ways, but they got 17 guys back. That is worth noting.
The team is
So I think they could be one of the hidden gems in college football this year. But yeah, they got something there. I just think that they operated so quietly last year. A lot of people think of them as a fringe top 25 team this year. And for Clemson, I just got to see it. This isn't it was 5 years ago the last time they won a national championship, and people are saying they still got it. It's still Dabo, it's still this. They still got the talent, and you can't knock it. But just this isn't the same ACC that they've been playing in the last 5 years.
Oh yeah,
you got Florida State in there now. You see, we talk about Duke a little bit. Maybe Miami, maybe NC State, North Carolina.
Oh yeah.
There's a couple reasonable contenders I think in there this year. So it might not just be business as usual for Clemson.
No, I agree. Yeah, I totally agree. I think they'll have a little more competition, as you'd say, in that conference. And I'm excited to see how they perform on that first road game. They got to come in. That Duke Stadium is sold out tonight. So it'll be a really fun one. And I just think Duke keeps it, within 2 scores for sure. I think, if anything, they might lose by a touchdown, 10 points. But, I just think they cover the number tonight at home.
Sounds good. Any other games you want to talk about from the Saturday slate that you had some good action on?
I think just the one game that we touch on is, and we were saying it really all day, about this Tennessee defense. Tennessee, that's a team that you might have to put some eyes on. Yeah, I know they were playing, non-conference, like whatever, but they looked really good. So we'll just quickly, Tennessee, a team to look out for. It's a team I'm going to be backing a lot solely because of that defense. And obviously the offense is good. Hooker's got an arm. They got a lot of playmakers, but that defense is really what stood out to me. I mean, I know you had the -27. I had the 21 in a teaser. It was pretty much every time the defense stepped on that field against Virginia, it was just 3 and out. Fun stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no. And the thing is, when you watch the game on TV like that, like you would think Hendon Hooker's still there.
Mm-hmm.
You got Joe Milton, who they're just flipping him in. He's the same guy.
Yeah.
Joe Milton with a cannon. I have bought a lot of stock into Joe Milton.
That's who was throwing it. Wasn't
right. You couldn't even tell the difference though. For the most part,
I thought for sure it was like the way they throw the ball. It's like
they look the same.
God, yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Because they did struggle moving the ball in the first half, but it was wild. Like if they went 3 and out, and it was like 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. Like they would do that 4 times in a row or something like that, or Tennessee would stall. They're still working out the kinks, getting some chemistry together, but the defense didn't play. And like that was 4 quarters, and it was unrelenting.
Oh, it was a beautiful 4 quarters of defensive football. It was pretty cool to see. And it's a team I'll be backing. So yeah, other than Tennessee, that's pretty much all I got. I think we touched on the big games, especially the Duke Clemson tonight. I think we'll have another show later in the week just based on week 2 preview, who we're liking, initial thoughts on those games. But yeah, that's all I got on the week 1 recap. I think we touched on the big ones.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm excited. To get watch this Clemson game. And then, for the week 2 preview, obviously now we're mixing in NFL as well. Be on the lookout for that. And
beautiful.
That's what we got. So awesome. Thanks for joining. Thanks for watching. And check us out. We'll be on Wednesday or Thursday this week for a week 2 preview.
Yep.